We got the privacy princess herself talking about the Wall Street Journal's first ever Data Transparency Weekend. It is, of course, Julia Angwin, and she's sitting right next to Spencer there.
Well,
that sounds pretty hot.
That sounds pretty hot.
Does,
Data Transparency Weekend.
Yep.
we got a little transparent.
Well, that's funny, because whenever you talk about privacy, you always make me feel naked, so transparency is the next thing. So what happened on this weekend?
Right. So first of all, we were clothed.
Good.
That's good.
So basically, this was an outgrowth of our reporting. You know, we've been writing a lot about privacy issues in the digital age, and along the way, basically, I got to know a lot of the people who try to build tools to protect privacy, and it's not a very big industry. A lot of these people are graduate students or underfunded, and I came up with this idea that we should just have an event where they could all get together and work on their tools and make them better, because a lot of the tools are pretty hard to use for regular users. And so we had about 120 programmers over the weekend at NYU coding.
Look at that
Yeah.
activity.
Now, is this like
buzzing in that room.
would this be called a hackathon if it wasn't the Wall Street Journal?
Yes, this would be called a hackathon. And but we called it Data Transparency Weekend because we're the Wall Street Journal. We have to use big words.
Okay.
Yeah, there she is. There she is.
That's
she
me
is.
talking.
Looking great.
And it got an amazing response, didn't it? How many
Yeah.
people showed up?
Well, I mean, we had to limit. We were totally oversubscribed, so we limited attendance to 120. But I think we could easily probably do more in the future. But it was also nice to have a small one for the first time. You know, it is kind of preposterous for me, not a programmer, to lead a weekend of programmers. So I was nervous about making that happen.
Well, it's almost as preposterous as you wearing a label, because everybody knows who you are. So, I mean, it's like, anyway, what were the big surprises?
So there were some really fun things that
Yeah.
were built this weekend, and I wanted to talk about some of them. So we had about 20 projects that were submitted, and they were all great, but some of them that won were really fun. So one was a chat thing that you can use on your phone or on a computer, and right now it's hard to, when you do instant messaging, it's hard to do super secure instant messaging, like with encryption. It's like it requires installing special software, and it's a little hard. So this is one that you don't have to do that for, and in fact it's called CryptoCat, and it you generate the cryptography by random dance moves. So you hold your phone and you dance.
But how do you
gotta love that.
how do you uncrypt that then? If you get the dance moves
You have
wrong,
to do some break dances on there.
if you uncrypt, no, seriously, how do you uncrypt
So
it?
the way cryptography has to do with generating random numbers.
Yes.
And so there's all sorts of ways to generate random numbers. This was basically just a gimmick, which is you can use sort of the accelerometer to generate it through your moves, but you could generate them anyway. And then those numbers are used to generate keys, and it's complicated.
And prime numbers actually.
So,
prime numbers
okay,
are
Prime
important in
numbers,
this.
yes.
Prime.
Right.
So amazing response. It sounds like there was some really cool
Yeah.
products and services built. Is one of the reasons this market hasn't taken off is because there's no money in it?
Yes.
Or is it because there just hasn't been a community
Well, right
involvement?
now it's really hard because people are not really willing to pay for privacy tools. So the problem facing all these developers is they build awesome stuff, but they don't have a way to monetize it, right? And since they're in the privacy business, the normal monetization strategy of tracking your users and then selling their data, not so winning a strategy in this market. So they're in a difficult situation. I think eventually there probably will be a market for paid privacy protecting
Well, like
tools.
if you go to the credit rating agencies, the Equifax, Experian, they have a business model. They're protecting your credit from data intrusion.
But that's based on regulation, right? And we don't have any regulation
I
in this
thought they were
field.
sort of protecting
Yeah.
you from themselves, but anyway.
Well,
yeah,
regardless, but
it is
basically,
required, but it's not
re-
required that you become a customer
Yeah,
of
but
those services.
it's basically like regulation created that market opportunity for them, and so there is also regulation coming down the pike. Most likely, Congress and the White House have been calling for things, and so a lot of people are just positioning themselves now so that when there is that market driven by regulation.
Hey, Instagram didn't have any revenue, and they just got bought for $1
Yes.
billion. So
Oh my God! So there was
What
actually
are they-
one of the projects that won was called Pestagram, and it was a mashup of Instagram, which is sort of a personal service, and Pinterest, which is where you pin all your photos. And the idea was that it took your Instagram photos and put them up on Pinterest, showing you what a collision of privacy that would be, which was sort of a fun project.
interesting.
So name another one.
So another one that was really interesting was called Mobile Scope. It was basically, there's all sorts of stories that we've written here and in other places about how your apps are stealing your data and how you don't know what's happening where your data is flowing from your phone. So this was something that actually audits every bit of information that comes and goes from your phone and gives you a report about who's sending what where, which is a really cool product too.
That's
Is
cool.
that-
Can
is
you
that-
download these on the App Store now?
Well,
Or-
these are all a little bit like in alpha/beta,
Okay.
early days, but
Yeah.
the
Have you got them on your phone now?
I have some of them, but Mobile Scope is the one that got the Ready for Prime Time award, which was basically the one that seemed most ready to be pushed out to
And
users.
remind us what Mobile Scope did again?
That was the one that audits what your apps are sending and receiving
Most
from
ready
your
for
phone.
prime time. Remember that name, Mobile Scope.